Hi, I'm Dr. Brandy Blake, and these are the 5 most important things that you need to know about writing a report in senior design. So, like any student, you probably assume that you're writing this report for the teacher. And that's kind of true. For the pre-proposal, you're writing your pre-proposal directly to the senior design examiner, the person who is going to look at this and decide whether your project is strong enough to be your senior design project. But for the interim and final reports, you are not writing the body of that report for the examiner. You are writing it for the client. Now, you haven't done a lot of writing in industrial engineering, so this is really our last chance to teach you how to write to a general audience. And what I mean is, when you go out into the real world and get a job, you're going to be talking to people who are not industrial engineers about industrial engineering. And you need to learn how to explain industrial engineering concepts to those people. That's what this report is all about. So the body of the report is being written for the client, but not your client contact, because your client contact probably also has a good idea of what industrial engineering is. This body of this report is being written for a general audience. Smart, intelligent business people who just don't know a lot about industrial engineering itself. So that's the body. Now, you're likely to have some long appendices here. The appendices are written for a much more IE savvy audience, and that's great. So you can go into more detail in the appendices. Just assume that if the reader really cares about the details, he cares enough to turn to the appendix to find them. So, what do you include in this report, and what do you not include? In the body of the report, you got to ask yourself, what does my client actually care about? What information does my client actually want to read about? If when you're thinking about that, looking at a piece of information, you say, does my client want to read about this? If the answer is no, and you really still want to put it in the appendix. If the answer is yes, put it in the body. If you think the reader cares, put that in the body of the report. If you think the reader might not care, maybe that should go in the appendix. You also need to be able to explain industrial engineering concepts as you go along. So ask yourself, is this a major concept that my client really needs to understand in order to get what I'm doing here, what my team is trying to accomplish? If so, explain that concept in the body of the report. And then you have to sort of figure out how much explanation your project needs for them to really be able to get it. Number 4, style. Technical writing, professional writing, business writing, it's not like writing for English 1101 and 1102. I don't care how fancy you're talking, all right? It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be elaborate. I don't want long paragraphs. What I want is for you to explain your ideas clearly. So you need to be concise, you need to be specific, and you need to avoid really fancy words and jargon. So, wordiness is one of the first big problems we see a lot in senior design reports. These are sentences that are just overly long and complicated for no real reason. So, take a look at this example. It is expected that the new schedule will be announced by the bus company within the next few days. You don't need all of those words in order to get the point across. You can just shorten the sentence, focus on the bus company because that's actually the subject of the sentence, and cut down the excess words. The bus company will announce its new schedule within a few days. You also need to be specific as you can. So, for example, the bus company will announce its new schedule within a few days. A few days, 1 day, 3 days, a week, what exactly do you mean by a few days? So, how many days? It costs the company a lot of money. How much money? That's very important. We always want to know how much money. a significant amount of time is lost. Well, the term significant can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Different people. Which people? Okay, so the issue is that early in the semester, you don't necessarily have all the details. You don't know everything that's going on with your project. So early in the semester, you're much more likely to have some of this vague wording and not really know what to do about it because you don't know how many days, how much, what's significant, which people, etc. So be upfront. Be as specific as you can about what you know, and it's okay to say when you don't know something. Ideally, when you don't know something, you also clarify when you will be able to find out that information. All right. So as the semester progresses, however, we really want you to be able to fill in these blanks. You need to quantify this information. We need it to be as concrete as possible. So specify, specify, specify. Fancy language. So you are trained since high school to learn very big vocabulary words that sound really awesome and make you sound super smart, but using big fancy words does not necessarily mean that you're going to be able to be understood by other people. So try not to use fancy words just for the sake of using fancy words or sounding smart. Instead, use a simpler, easier to understand version of the words. There is a website called plainlanguage.gov, which will help you find simpler versions of words that might be overly complicated. So just look it up there. Number 3, visuals. Explain them. So first, it's important that you include visuals in your reports. They really help cut through some of the muck. When you've got a lot of information being thrown at you, having a visualization of that information can really help it stick and help it make more sense. But you've got to make sure you have a reader-friendly version of that visual. There are some different types of graphs that non-IEs might be less familiar with, so make sure you have a graph that a more general audience can appreciate. Also, overwhelming tables are just that. They're overwhelming, and it's hard to find information in them, so avoid those like the plague. But you also have to make sure that people understand what you're trying to say with your visual. It's part of your argument, right? The phrase, "a picture is worth 1,000 words," is definitely true, but the problem is sometimes those 1,000 words are very different for very different people. So you've got to explain what you want the audience to get out of your image. So whatever it is, say to yourself, what is this? What do I want my audience to see when they look at this visual? How do I make sure that they get that? And then explain it. Number 2. You want to focus on process. You want to talk about what you've been doing for the past 2 semesters, what you've been focusing on, all the stuff that you did. You think that you need to talk about process so that the examiner will give you a good grade, because you want to tell them every little thing that you did in order to show how hard you've been working. And I get that. Really. But this is what it sounds like when we read it. It sounds like, hey, we came up with this idea, and then we analyzed some data, and then we did this math, and then we did this other math, and then we did this other stuff, and we built a simulation, we designed a tool, and we used some programming, and we did this, and we did this, and we did this, and we did this, and we did this. And first of all, that is not always easy to read. And second of all, that is sometimes really boring. And third, if your reader is not an IE, they often don't really care about all of that stuff. I know that's sad. It hurts you because you work so hard on it. I know. But your goal here is to sort of sell your idea to the client, and this is not the way to do it. Your goal is to focus on results. here are our findings. Here's what we determined was the best opportunity for improvement. And here's why it was the best opportunity. Here's what the data shows. The data shows this, which is important because of this. So the solution needs to be this, right? It's okay to say we sometimes when you're talking about something that you did or an idea that you came up with. But the goal is not to just focus on all the stuff you did, because this project is not about you. This project is not about what you did. This project is about the solution that you are given to this client, about the improvements that you are making to the current state. That is what this project is about. So that is what you need to be focusing on in your paper, not about all the stuff you did. Sorry, you can tell me about all the stuff you did. I care, I swear. One solution is you can add more information into your appendices. So if you really want to go into detail about some of the process, it was really cool, you want to explain it thoroughly, put that in the appendix. The number one thing I want you to get out of this video is that you have a writing coordinator. I'm here to help. If you need help with any sort of writing, make an appointment with me on Grades First. I am here for senior design reports, but I'm also here if you're working on a resume or a cover letter, or if you need help with scholarship applications, or if you're writing a report for a different IE class. I help with posters. I do a workshop for posters, and I just have a lot of resources that I can give you if you need help with writing. Heck, I've helped people write emails to prospective employers before, to their clients when they didn't know exactly how to word something, stuff like that. Make an appointment with me. I'm always around. I am available. I hope this was an interesting video, as interesting as it can be for you guys. Hopefully I'll see you when you make an appointment with me. Bye.